Okay, in this lesson, we are going to take a look at multi-step problems in the real world. Your learning target is that you can identify the independent and dependent variable, make a table, and construct a graph for the equation. I'll give you a moment to read through the opening exercise and mark up the text. Okay, we have Chin, and he is buying beverages for a party that come in packs of 8. We're going to let P be the number of packages Chin buys, and T be the total number of beverages. The equation T equals 8P can be used to calculate the total number of beverages when the number of packages is known. So we're going to determine the independent and dependent variables in this scenario, and then we're going to finish this table using whole number values of P less than 6. So what's important is that the beverages for the party come in packs of 8. We have our equation T equals 8P. We have P being the number of packages and T being the total, so I'm not going to highlight that because I don't want to mark it up too much. What we have to do is we have to determine the independent and dependent variables, and we need to finish making this table. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, packages and the beverages come in packs of 8. So if we have 0 packages, we are going to have 0 beverages. Okay. If we go down here and we have 1 package, well, 1 package is going to be 8 beverages. Okay. If I have 2 packages, well, 8 plus 8, and that is 16. 3 packages, 8 plus 8 plus 8, or 8 times 3, 24. The pattern is going to continue until we reach 5 packages. So here's your pattern. The total number of beverages, T, equals 8 times the package. Okay, so the relationship between the independent variable and the dependent variable is times 8. Okay, so now we're going to go down here. We're going to use that table to help us make a graph. Our independent variable goes along the x-axis, and our dependent variable is going to go along the y-axis. Okay, so if I'm taking a look at this graph, I'll highlight it. This is my x-axis. Okay. And this is my y-axis. So my independent is going to go along the bottom, and my dependent is going to go along the top. And I'm just going to pop right back up here to my table. So my independent is number of packages, and I'm just going to label that axis right here. So this is number of packages, and that's represented by P. And then over here, it is total number of beverages. Okay, so total number of beverages, and that is represented by T. Okay. Okay, so I've got my labels. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to label my lines. So where these two axes meet, that is 0. And since my packages are counted by 1, I'm just going to keep the ones going. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then since my dependent variable, my total number of beverages, they were increasing by 8s, I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to label each line and I'm going to increase it by 8. And notice we're labeling lines, not spaces. Okay, so the last thing I need to do is I need to plot my points. So I have to go back up to my table. And this first point that I'm going to plot is going to be 0, 0. 0 packages, 0 beverages. The next point is going to be 1 package, 8 beverages, or 1, 8. The next is going to be 2, 16, and so on. Okay, I'm just going to pull this down here so that I have it. And now comes the fun part, just plotting my points. So I'm going to start here with 0, 0. I'm going to go over 1 and up to 8. I'm going to go over to 2, up to 16, over to 3, up to 24, and you should start to see a pattern. Okay. 432 and 540. And the very last thing I need to do to show the relationship between packages and beverages is to draw a line connecting those dots. So you guys should use a ruler. I get to use my tools. Okay. Okay, so that is how you use your independent and dependent variables along with the equation to make a table and construct the graph. Okay. So we're going to take a look at one other example, and this time we are going to be given the graph. We need to figure out which is the independent variable, which is the dependent variable, and then we need to figure out the relationship between those two variables. Okay, so if we take a look at the graph, I see that we have a road trip. So we have the hours spent on the road and miles traveled. So one thing that you can do to help you here, to help you see the relationship, is you can make a little chart, a little T-chart. On one side, I am going to put hours. So I'm going to use H to represent the hours, and I'm going to use M to represent miles traveled. So if I have traveled 1 hour, so I've been in the car for 1 hour, according to this graph, I should have traveled approximately 50 miles. Okay, so I'm going to go 0 hours, 0 miles, 1 hour, 50 miles. If I've been in the car for 2 hours, it looks like I should have traveled 100 miles. And I'm going to keep using the graph to complete my table. Okay, so 3 hours, 150. And then 5 hours, 250. Okay, so I see a pattern. Hopefully you guys see that same pattern. As hours increase by 1, our miles are increasing by 50s. Okay, so we need our independent variable. We need to identify that independent variable and that dependent variable. So in this case, our independent variable is hours. And miles traveled depends on the number of hours we've been driving. So the equation that we can write from this, okay, it looks like it's going to be 50 times however many hours is going to equal our miles. So miles equals 50 times the hour. Okay. And that is that. That is how you can work backwards using a graph to construct a table to identify your independent variable, your dependent variable, and your equation.